You've probably felt it this week. With summer officially here and the weather finally breaking across the country, millions of Canadians are hitting the road.
Yeah, everybody is out right now.
They really are. We are traveling domestically, exploring our own backyard in just like record numbers this year.
Which is fantastic, honestly.
It is, but when you step outside your daily routine, when you leave the concrete of the city and breathe in the open air, something kind of dangerous
You
happens.
start paying attention.
Exactly. You start looking around and you start doing the math. You start realizing the massive, staggering gap between the life you are currently funding and the life you could actually be living.
And I think that realization is the catalyst for, well, one of the most significant wealth reallocations we're seeing today.
Right.
People are just waking up to the fact that holding on to a massive urban real estate asset isn't necessarily the financial victory they thought it was.
No, not at all.
I mean, it often functions more like a gilded cage.
And that is the exact phenomenon we are tearing apart in today's deep dive. And I want to start by sending a huge thank you to Mike Montague, the show host and producer over at RE/MAX Charlottetown.
Yes, absolutely.
He provided the research, the data, the behavioral observations, and the actual property listings that form the entire backbone of what we're talking about today.
He really put together an incredible foundation for us to look at.
He did.
Yeah.
So today we're going to explore how a very specific geographic shift, moving urban equity to Prince Edward Island, is not just a basic real estate relocation. It's, as Mike puts it, a life-giving injection of quality living.
I love that phrasing.
Right. But look, to understand the escape route, we have to look at the mechanics of the trap itself first.
We do, because the trap is built on these localized asset bubbles. I mean, think about it. If you own a home in a major Canadian urban center, let's say, the West End of Toronto or Vancouver, or even parts of Ottawa,
Sure.
you have likely experienced this tremendous surge in on-paper wealth over the last decade.
Oh, completely.
Mhm.
Like a modest aging bungalow that you purchased for maybe $300,000 or $400,000 is now sitting at a valuation of $1 million, or honestly, significantly more.
Exactly.
And it feels like you walked into a casino, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put down a modest bet, and boom, you hit the absolute jackpot.
You feel like a genius.
You do. You have this massive stack of chips sitting in front of you. But then, you try to actually improve your daily life
Right.
with those winnings.
And that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, the floor manager taps you on the shoulder to explain the catch, which is you can only spend those chips inside this exact same casino.
That is a perfect analogy, because that localized inflation is what makes urban wealth so illiquid when we're talking about lifestyle improvement.
Right.
Because if you sell that $1 million bungalow, I mean, yes, you are pulling your chips off the table, but you still need a place to live.
Obviously.
And if your job, your habits, and, just your mindset are anchored to Toronto, you take that $1 million right back into the Toronto market.
And you quickly discover that everyone else's house also costs $1 million.
Exactly.
So you engage in what Mike's research perfectly labels the sideways move.
The sideways move, yeah.
You sell a cramped, noisy house just to buy another cramped, noisy house 3 streets over.
I mean, your wealth has tripled, sure, but the utility of that wealth, the actual lifestyle return on your investment, it remains entirely flat.
You still have the same problem.
Exactly. Your commute is still an hour of gridlock. The air quality is exactly the same. That ambient stress of hyper-competitive urban living hasn't changed one bit.
Even if you try to, like downsize locally.
Right. If you move into a smaller condo just to free up some marginal capital, you are still trapped inside the same high-stress urban bubble.
Yeah.
You are wealthy on a spreadsheet, but your Tuesday morning feels identical to how it felt 10 years ago.
So true. So the only logical way to realize the actual value of those casino chips is to find a market that hasn't inflated at that exact same hyper-accelerated rate.
But still offers a premium standard of living.
Exactly. And that brings us to the core of the deep dive today, the concept of geographic arbitrage.
Arbitrage, in its purest economic sense, is taking advantage of a price difference between two distinct markets.
Right. You buy low, sell high, that sort of thing.
Basically, you sell an asset where it is artificially overvalued, and you deploy that capital where it is undervalued. But in the context of this research, we aren't just talking about financial arbitrage.
No.
We are talking about lifestyle arbitrage.
Taking the capital from a modest Toronto suburb, or Vancouver, and deploying it on Prince Edward Island. And we aren't talking about a lateral swap here.
Not at all.
The contrast is honestly difficult to even comprehend until you look at the actual numbers and the actual properties.
The asymmetry between the two markets is staggering. I mean, the same $1 million that buys you, a semi-detached home staring at a brick wall in an urban center,
Yeah.
that same money buys you a level of coastal luxury on PEI that is functionally comparable to living on Martha's Vineyard.
Wow, Martha's Vineyard.
Truly, but without the prohibitive property taxes and the ridiculous overcrowding.
I really want to make this tangible for you listening, because looking at the active listings that Mike Montague pulled from RE/MAX Charlottetown completely shattered my perspective on what housing can be.
They are incredible.
They really are. So there is one property overlooking the majestic Northumberland Strait for roughly $950,000.
Just under $1 million.
Right. And you aren't just getting a house. You are getting a sprawling, custom-built timber frame estate.
It's massive.
Over 3,000 square feet of living space, floor-to-ceiling windows that capture the ocean light from sunrise to sunset, and private access to miles of untouched beach.
It's basically a resort.
It is. Genuinely looks like a luxury resort.
And I think the key thing here is that this isn't an anomaly. The market consistency is what makes this a viable long-term strategy rather than just a one-off stroke of luck.
Exactly. Because there's another active listing on PEI's breathtaking North Shore coming in right around that 1.1 million mark.
Again, the cost of a literal teardown in Toronto.
Literally. And this one features massive wraparound verandas designed specifically to capture the salt air coming off the Gulf of St. Lawrence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it has a chef's kitchen, vaulted ceilings, and a massive lot that gives you actual physical breathing room. Like you can hear the ocean from the primary bedroom.
That sounds unreal.
And the sheer poetic beauty of the environment is built right into the architecture itself.
And see, what you are purchasing there isn't just square footage. You are purchasing a completely different neurochemical baseline.
A neurochemical baseline, I like that.
Well, it's true. You are trading the constant fight-or-flight response of the city for an environment that naturally regulates your nervous system.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure, go for it.
Because the math is undeniable, and the sensory descriptions of these homes are incredible. It sounds like paradise in July.
Right.
But let's talk about February. I can imagine you sitting in traffic right now thinking, sure, a wraparound veranda is great, but aren't you just trading urban gridlock for crushing, lonely isolation?
That's a very common fear.
Right, like what happens when the novelty of the ocean wears off, the wind is howling, and you've left your entire social network behind in the city?
Yeah, the fear of isolation is actually the most common cognitive distortion associated with relocation.
Cognitive distortion.
Yeah, we assume that moving away from a densely populated area automatically means moving away from human connection.
Which makes intuitive sense.
It does, but the data on social dynamics in Mike's research suggests the exact opposite actually happens.
Really?
Yeah, when you execute this level of geographic arbitrage, you fundamentally change the nature of your relationships. You don't become isolated. You become a magnetic hub.
A magnetic hub.
Yeah.
But doesn't distance naturally erode those relationships?
Yeah.
If I have to get on a plane or drive 14 hours to see my friends, aren't those connections just going to fade?
You have to look at the quality versus the frequency of the interaction.
Okay, unpack that.
So, in the city, your social life is often dictated by convenience and time scarcity.
Very true.
You grab a rushed 45-minute coffee with a friend between meetings, or you squeeze in a chaotic dinner at a loud restaurant where you can barely even hear each other.
Yeah, you're just yelling over the table.
Exactly. That is high-frequency, low-depth interaction. But when you own a sprawling oceanfront estate on PEI, your friends and family are literally lining up to visit you.
Because you own the ultimate destination.
Precisely. You become the anchor for family reunions. You become the host of 4-day summer retreats.
Oh, that makes sense.
Instead of a rushed coffee, you are spending a long, uninterrupted weekend with the people you actually care about, sitting on that deck, watching the tide roll in.
The depth of the connection actually increases.
It does, because you have created an environment that facilitates relaxation and vulnerability. You aren't leaving your network behind. You are curating a vastly superior experience for them.
And it's not like PEI itself is a deserted island either.
Right.
It has a vibrant, year-round community, incredible culinary scenes, local culture.
Absolutely.
You're just trading anonymous urban density for actual intentional community.
Which is huge.
It is. Which makes the next question from the research so incredibly frustrating.
Oh, I know what you're going to ask.
Right. If the economics are a slam dunk, The properties are architectural masterpieces, and your social life actually deepens. Why do people hesitate?
The hesitation is deeply rooted in our biology. It really brings up a profound question about how human beings process change.
Yeah.
Like, why do we consistently deny ourselves a higher quality of living even when the escape hatch is wide open and totally financially viable?
Mike's research poses this almost existential question, like, what are we waiting for? What are we holding back on? Why are we denying ourselves this amazing quality of living during our time on this mortal coil?
That's a heavy question.
And that phrase, mortal coil, it really hits hard. The clock is relentlessly ticking.
It is.
We are choosing to spend our limited time surviving an environment rather than living in one. It's like being on a treadmill that you've been running on for 10 years.
Yeah, a treadmill is a great way to look at it.
And the speed just keeps creeping up. That's the inflation, the taxes, the noise.
And you're just sprinting to keep up.
Exactly. And someone points to a beautiful garden right next to the treadmill and says, hey, just step off. It costs the exact same.
Just step off.
But people just keep running.
They keep running because the brain perceives the act of stepping off as a massive threat.
A threat.
Yeah. To understand this, we really have to look at cognitive load theory. The human brain operates on a strict energy budget. Surviving in a hyper-competitive urban environment, navigating traffic, managing high living costs, dealing with noise pollution and spatial constraints.
It's exhausting.
It consumes an enormous percentage of your executive function.
So the city is literally draining the battery you need to make decisions.
Yes, it depletes your cognitive reserves daily. So when you introduce the concept of a major geographic relocation, like selling a house, packing, moving across provincial borders, navigating a whole new real estate market.
Just thinking about it makes me tired.
Right. Your brain's threat detection center, the amygdala, immediately flags it. It calculates the perceived effort of the move against your already depleted energy levels and concludes, nope, we don't have the bandwidth for this.
That is wild.
It is.
The urban grind exhausts you so thoroughly that you no longer have the energy required to actually escape the urban grind.
Exactly. The exhaustion becomes the cage.
Wow.
The psychology of inertia is basically a biological defense mechanism against energy depletion. That makes so much sense.
The friction of perceived effort creates a massive, insurmountable wall in your mind. But the profound truth is that the change itself is the antidote to the exhaustion.
The cure is the thing you're too tired to do.
Yes, the relocation isn't a drain on your life.
Mm-hmm.
It is, as the text notes, something that literally adds years to your life and life to your years.
The moment you remove yourself from the concrete and place yourself in front of the Northumberland Strait, the healing actually begins.
Exactly.
But, okay, how do you trick your brain into taking that first step? How do you bridge that massive psychological gap between staring at a city mortgage and signing a deed on an oceanfront PEI property?
Well, you don't try to scale the wall all at once.
Okay.
You dismantle it brick by brick, using basically a form of exposure therapy.
And this is where Mike Montague's specific strategy really comes into play, and I think it is a brilliant neurological hack.
It really is. He doesn't tell you to put a for sale sign on your lawn today. You recommend setting up an automated low-pressure listing search.
Yes.
You contact him, you tell him the current estimated value of your urban home, and he sets up a customized drip campaign.
A very simple, low-effort step.
Exactly. He flags the nicest, most charming waterfront listings on PEI that match your exact equity, and he just drips them directly into your email inbox.
And the reason this is so highly effective is because it entirely bypasses the brain's fear center.
Because it's passive.
Right. If someone demands you make a massive life change today, the wall goes up immediately. But a slow drip visualization, that requires zero executive function.
You wake up on a Tuesday morning, it's raining, you're staring down a brutal commute on the Don Valley Parkway or whatever.
Ugh, the worst.
You open your phone, and sitting in your inbox is this sun-drenched $3 million lifestyle that only costs exactly what your current cramped house is worth.
And you don't have to do anything, you just observe it. You look at the pictures of the wraparound veranda. You look at the private beach. And you do this day after day, week after week. Neurologically, what you are doing is rewriting your brain's risk assessment matrix.
You're microdosing the change.
I love that. Yes, you're microdosing the change. You are replacing the anxiety of the unknown with the pleasure of possibility.
That's a great way to put it.
The brain stops seeing the island as a complex, exhausting logistical nightmare and starts seeing it as a highly desirable reward. And eventually the scales just tip.
The tipping point.
Exactly.
The passive dreaming naturally turns into active planning. You stop asking, well, what if, and you start asking when.
You start mentally placing your furniture in that oceanfront living room.
Yes, the pain of staying in your current environment finally outweighs the perceived friction of moving.
Because the transition happens internally long before it ever happens geographically.
And look, because we are in the middle of this beautiful Canadian summer right now and domestic travel is booming, there is a very practical next step to accelerate that tipping point.
Oh, definitely.
You merge your summer vacation with a lifestyle scouting mission.
Which is brilliant. Grounding the visualization in physical reality is really the final step in overcoming that inertia.
Because you are already looking for a place to travel. So make it PEI.
Why not?
Right. And while you were there, you let Mike Montague take you on a tour. You take these abstract digital concepts, the ocean views, the coastal luxury, and you turn them into a tangible, breathable experience.
You step onto the hardwood floors. You actually smell the salt air.
Exactly. You look out the window and you see the Northumberland Strait with your own two eyes.
And when the brain physically experiences the environment, the final illusions of that urban trap dissolve.
It becomes real.
You recognize that this isn't some fantasy reserved for billionaires. It is a highly actionable reality available to you right now using the equity you already possess.
We have walked through the mechanics of the urban equity trap today. We've broken down the immense power of geographic and lifestyle arbitrage. We've looked at the biology of why we stay stuck on the treadmill.
And we've laid out the exact low-pressure blueprint to hack your own psychology and reach that tipping point.
It really is a comprehensive roadmap out of the casino.
It is.
So, if you are listening to this, sitting in city traffic, looking at your urban equity, and wondering if this is as good as it gets, this is your call to action. We invite you to contact Mike Montague directly.
Take that first step.
Get on board his listing search and send program. Let that low-pressure visualization do its work. Start waking up each morning to another majestic PEI waterfront property in your inbox.
Give Mike a call, send a text, shoot an email, and just get the drip started.
And if you are heading to the Maritimes this summer, let him know. Let him show you the incredible real estate offerings that can fundamentally change the trajectory of your life.
Because taking that first passive step costs absolutely nothing. But ignoring the opportunity could cost you decades of quality living.
Very well said. We want to send a massive thank you once again to Mike Montague of RE/MAX Charlottetown for doing the heavy lifting, curating these sources, providing the listings, and putting this phenomenal research together for us.
The data and the underlying behavioral insights he provided are truly a paradigm shift.
They really are. And we want to thank you for taking the time to join us on this deep dive. Your time is your most valuable asset, and we hope this conversation sparked a new way of looking at how you spend it.
But before we go, we do want to leave you with one final, deeply uncomfortable thought to chew on.
I love this part.
I want you to try a quick thought experiment today. Imagine that tonight, while you were sleeping, all the equity locked inside your current home, every single dollar of it, was magically converted into liquid cash.
Okay.
When you wake up tomorrow morning, that money is sitting right there in your checking account, completely unattached to any real estate.
The chips are in your pocket.
Exactly. With total financial mobility and the entire country spread out before you, would you actively choose to take that cash, go out into the market and buy the exact same life you are living right now?
Wow.
Would you buy back into the exact same commute, the exact same noise, and the exact same stress? Or would you buy a completely new one?